So this next influence is another Blizzard one. Um, Back in the days of World of Warcraft Classic Vanilla, I played a druid and I got him all the way to level 60 before I gave my feedback on the druid forums on the World of Warcraft website. So my feedback was that as a druid, uh, it was a very repetitive, grueling, slow grind to solo the game. And almost every encounter started with a Starfire, an Arcane Fire, Starfire, Moonfire, Wrath, Moonfire, and then Melee. And I told the developers that there was a gap in what you could do in terms of distance. So I was looking at the distance. Starfire you can cast at max range, whereas Wrath and Moonfire you have to wait for the enemy to get closer before you can engage them. And I told them that there was a dead zone where you couldn't cast any spells. And I suggested that they include something with a Warcraft 3 theme, like the Druid of the Talons Cyclone. Because I said they needed some kind of stun or movement impairment on the incoming mob. Uh, and they needed to have it at a certain distance to round out the druid's range. And so the next patch, they released a spell for the druid called Hurricane. And it wasn't Cyclone, it was Hurricane, but it was at the exact distance. I think it was like 40 meters or something, uh, or 40 feet. I don't know what system they use anymore. I forgot. But it was cool to have like my feedback for that taken by the Blizzard development team and used to make the Druid a more round, well balanced class to play. And they also they already had entangling roots, but the idea was that at the exact distance that entangling roots is castable, hurricane is castable. So you would entangle them in roots and then cast hurricane on top of them, and they would be stuck in the hurricane while they're on their way to you. But it's kind of a waste to use it on a single mob, especially with entangling roots, because the roots run out faster than the hurricane lasts, and the hurricane is AoE. So you'd really want to have more than one monster rooted in place in order to get them. And it's kind of hard to use in party situations too, because the druid always generates a lot of threat because he's casting heals and doing damage and at the top of the charts all the time on both. So if say your warrior buddy, the tank, is doing a really good job uh, crowd controlling and keeping everybody attacking him, and you try to take the opportunity to cast Hurricane and do some DPS for once, then all the monsters leave your warrior and start attacking the druid, who may be Arcane, Feral, or Resto. And so if you're playing an Arcane build, it really knocks you out and um, makes you a target for enemies. So they ended up giving the druid something called Moonkin form, which increased his armor and his critical hit chance. And the armor was really useful in drawing aggro because druids are a squishy target when they're playing arcane. But yeah, that's just another thing that I had a vague influence on in video games and pop culture. Uh, let's see what's next. Okay, these we'll just talk about here at the end of this video. The movie Moon was based on a conversation I had with my buddy Mark at a bar. We were brainstorming. He was in the radio, television, film department, and so is his friend Jared. And we were just hanging out talking. And we were talking about what we like to see in sci-fi movies. And I told him, there's not enough movies about clones and there's not enough movies about the moon. And then a month later, this movie Moon comes out about clones on the moon. And I was like, okay, being watched. Thanks, Marcus. Thanks, Jarrett. Uh, I guess our lives aren't meaningless after all. All right, and so that was awesome. It's still to this day one of my favorite movies ever, and I have such a great memory of brainstorming with my buddies to come up with a concept for it. And if you're a UT student, you've got the UT program installed in your brain, so you're like a little hive slave to the master intelligence of the UT clock tower. And so I'm not surprised they would monitor our conversations and make sure that we're given an empowerment of thought into art forms like cinema and video games and television to be fruitful. All right, next up, the Orville. This one took two ideas from me. One of them was where is it? I don't know where it is. An idea for 2D creatures. I ripped the idea off of Flatland, and then I tried talking to a bunch of people about Flatland and about um, multidimensional psychology. In other words, how life is experienced by creatures who have less dimensions of thought and movement than us and who have more. And they used that for the Orville. They kind of ripped it off Flatland, but it's something that I talk about so much that I thought they had maybe gotten some influence from me to do it. And the reason I think that in particular is because they used a conversation I had